I have a story in front of me this morning that I think is likely going to be ignored by all of your friends in mainstream media. You will not see this in most of the newspapers across the country, and you won't see it on the old alphabet networks or at MSDNC or CNN. But it was picked up today by the Daily Signal, which is the media arm of the Heritage Foundation, and this is the headline. Almost everything the media tell you about sexual orientation and gender identity is wrong. Now, we keep hearing them trying to argue settled science on things along the lines of global warming, but when it comes to people's lifestyle choices, media likes to claim it's settled, but they don't have any evidence. And when evidence comes along that might be contradictory, you ignore it, right? That's because, well, we wouldn't want to hurt the feelings of those people who work on our staffs. Ryan T. Anderson, the reporter, he has this a major new report published today in the Journal of the New Atlantis, challenges the leading narratives that the media has pushed regarding sexual orientation and gender identity. Co-authored by two of the nation's leading scholars on mental health and sexuality, the 143-page report discusses over 200 peer-reviewed studies and the biological, psychological, and social sciences, painstakingly documenting what scientific research shows and does not show about sexuality and gender. Here are four of the report's, he writes, most important conclusions. And these are the belief that sexual orientation is an innate biologically fixed human property, that people are born that way, is not supported by scientific evidence. Likewise, the belief that gender identity is an innate fixed human property independent of biological sex, so that a person might be a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body, is not supported by scientific evidence. Only a minority of children who express gender atypical thoughts or behavior will continue to do so into adolescence or adulthood. There is no evidence that all such children should be encouraged to become transgender, much less subjected to hormone treatments or surgery. 4. Non-heterosexual and transgender people have higher rates of mental health problems, anxiety, depression, suicide, as well as behavioral and social problems, substance abuse, intimate partner violence than the general population. Discrimination alone does not account for the entire disparity. In other words, they could be mentally ill. 10 minutes after 9 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. A story, again, they reviewed 200 other researchers' work, peer-reviewed it, and they've come to these conclusions. This should be banner headline news across the country because we're being told that we have to make all of these accommodations in our lives and in our workplaces and in our colleges and our schools and our department stores because of these people. Because according to Lefty, well, there's no control that these people have over all of this. When it appears they do have control. The political pressure that has been brought upon the medical community, as well as just about every other institution in this country, over the last 40-some years because of the Stonewall riots and similar types of things that have occurred, well, it's just nothing more than that, political pressure. But it doesn't mean it's right. The writer says the report focuses exclusively on what scientific research shows and does not show, but this science can have implications for public policy. And the writers have this. The report reviews rigorous research showing that only a minority of children who experience cross-gender identification will continue to do so into adolescence or adulthood. Take, for example, then, our nation's recent debates over transgender policies in schools. One of the consistent themes of the report is that science does not support the claim that gender identity is a fixed property independent of biological sex, but rather that a combination of biological, environmental, and experiential factors likely shape how individuals experience and express themselves when it comes to sex and gender. The report also discusses the reality of neuroplasticity, that all of our brains can and do change throughout our lives, especially but not only in childhood, in response to our behavior and experiences. These changes in the brain can, in turn, influence future behavior. This provides more reason for concern over the Obama White House's recent transgender school policies. Beyond the privacy and safety concerns, there is thus also the potential that such policies will result in prolonged identification as transgender for students who otherwise would have naturally grown out of it. 12 minutes after 9 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 69. Our telephone number, 736-0300. That's 736-0300. And you're on the air.
Good morning, Bill. It is a fact and science that adolescents and kids learn faster than adults. True or false? It's true that a kid will learn stuff way quicker.
Right.
So they're not stupid. They are trying to do this on purpose so that they can encourage this kind of behavior at a young age and make it acceptable to them. I think we've had a few people say that we're wussing down the generations, and I believe that to be true. We used to tell women that they were queens and princesses, and now we're telling them they can be a guy or whatever they want to be, and we told guys that they had to be men and providers, and now we're telling them that they can be anything they want, including a gangbanger. So I don't know, our society has gone wrong. You have one of your callers that calls in and gives scripture stuff all the time. And scripture or not, they are doing what they set out to do 50 years ago, which was to totally change the mindset of our society.
Well, when it comes to these people with their sexual proclivities, they are trying to recruit others into their lifestyle so they can have additional partners.
And they're doing that at a younger age because they will accept it at a younger age.
Well, we are in a situation, and I thank you for the call, where I don't know how we turn it around because they've got control of the media. And as I say, the media is going to ignore this story today because if they were to pick it up and they were to report on it truthfully, then the whole house of cards is going to come tumbling down. Meanwhile, this out of the Daily Caller today, West Virginia University, thank you for the call too as well, calling someone the wrong pronoun at that university is a Title IX violation. Referring to someone by the wrong gender pronoun is a violation of federal anti-discrimination law, according to West Virginia University's Title IX office. WVU's Title IX office informs students that federal law, as interpreted by WVU, guarantees students the right to be called by the name and pronouns consistent with your gender identity. More generally, the university says all students, quote, have the right to be treated according to the gender you identify with, unquote. Whatever that be, I guess, that particular day. The guide offers a plethora, that means a lot. I learned that word watching Monday Night Football. Who knew it could be educational? Used to be used by Howard Cosell a lot. A plethora of pronoun choices for WVU students and workers to use, including the Spivak pronoun I, that would be EY. The sentence, his eyes gleam, the guide explains, becomes ear eyes gleam when using Spivak pronouns. Why are you all talking like aliens? Greetings, Earthlings. Some people may not want a lot of public attention to their pronouns, while others will appreciate you standing up for them. If someone uses the wrong pronoun for a person who isn't present, try a brief correction, the guide advises. You think that college students are really wrapped up in this? Oh, come on now. In May, the Obama White House released a Dear Colleague letter informing public schools at the K-12 level that under Title IX, a school must treat students consistent with their gender identity, even if their education records or identification documents indicate a different sex. So yes, the White House, with all of the problems we have with a $20 trillion official debt and with jihadis creeping up on us from every direction, and with the growth of China, the White House wants to ensure that if Jimmy thinks he's Jenny on a particular day, that Jimmy can go in and sit down next to the real Jenny, and he can do his business that way. Meanwhile, boycotters say new Target transgender policy still allows predators easier access to their victims. This is well from today's Daily Signal. And this is from a woman who works at Target. She says, across the board, our goal is to make sure that everyone feels welcome at Target. Her name is Katie Boylan. In other words, these corporate folks are so afraid of offending some of these handful of freaks out there that they are going to continue to inconvenience everyone else who uses the stores. Have you not heard? They are going to spend $20 million at Target stores around the country to offer a unisex bathroom. That is where you can just go in and use the one toilet and you don't have to sit with anybody else. However, they will still have the other toilets open to the perverts who would like to go in and look up your skirt if you're a woman. The feedback has been mixed, she said. Some guests have been very supportive of the bathroom policy, while others less so. I'd like to see the actual numbers because I'm going to wager that when they say, well, some are supportive and some are not, well, okay. If 5 are supportive and 5 million are opposed, that is true. Some are and some aren't. But the numbers would be overwhelming on one side now, wouldn't they? What's happened with Target is they got themselves so deep in the manure, they haven't been able to figure out a way to get out of it and to put the smell of the rose back on the bloom. Target's announcement that it is installing unisex bathrooms does nothing to address the objection of more than 1.5 million customers who are boycotting the retail giant, according to Ed Vitigliano, executive president of the American Family Association. Um, for fun someday, I think I'm going to walk in and just, hey, where are all the little girls peeing at today? I know I haven't shaved in 3 days, but I feel like a Jenny today myself, and I want to go in, sit with all of them. I hope you don't mind. I guess they couldn't tell me no, could they? They'd have to look and say, over there. And if they had their own children in the bathroom, they'd probably rush over and get them out first, but I'd still be allowed to do it because if they didn't allow me to do it, they'd be worried that I'd go sue them. 20 minutes now after 9 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. We've been hearing about colder weather coming. Some days this week we won't break out of the 70s. I think that's a good thing, but cold winter nights are coming, and they're not all that far away. If you have not yet tested your furnace, you really should flip that switch to make sure if it's working or not. And if you've got a problem, you need to call the pros at Ramsey Heating and Electric today. The team at Ramsey's will make sure it's done right and done right the first time. Problem-free, cozy winters are found at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The telephone number, 678-0459. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Well, just in case you thought the world might be getting a little bit better, the latest Satan Club is going to be opening up at an elementary school in Utah. Not too far away from all of us. Details coming up. I wanted to mention again, and maybe I did get to see some of you. I don't remember all of the names of the people I got to talk on Saturday, but I had a wonderful time when I was at Last Stand Survival Shop in Jerome. We were out there between, well, really 10:30 and 1 o'clock on Saturday, but the grand opening of that shop actually started at 10 o'clock in the morning. There were people already lined up when I got there, and they didn't close down until 7 o'clock. And I really had a good time just walking around through the shop and taking a look at some of the, first of all, great display of firearms, and but they're also working with people. And I keep bringing this up. When my grandmother was a young woman, she learned to do so many things on the farm. So she could take care of herself no matter what the economic conditions happened to be. This was a woman who used to eat dandelion greens with a little, that would be her dessert some days, with a little bit of vinegar poured over the top of them because they were plentiful. She could go out back and just, and believe me, you wanted to get rid of them anyway, but she'd go out and after she'd pick them all, she'd be able to top the flowered portion off and then just save the stems. And these were healthy, and this is what she would eat. And she knew how to can and prepare. And if she walked into her pantry, she was ready for winter. If all of a sudden she couldn't make it to the grocery store, she could have survived for a couple of months. Well, they are trying to help you at the Last Stand Survival Shop do some of the very same things. Learn how to do these things because we never know when we're going to enter a period in this country where we could be without for a prolonged period of time. And if you know a few of these what the old timers knew. If you know these things on your own, that may well be the difference between survival and getting through something like that and then moving on. So we hope you give them an opportunity and drop by the shop. It's located at 18 Butte Drive in Jerome, just off of Route 93. And as I say, from Twin Falls, it was maybe about 10 and a half miles to get there. Not a long trip at all. 926, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And I thank you for joining us. Not far away, across the state line in Utah, there is a story brewing that I think, turned the stomachs of most parents. Christian Post had this. Satanic Temple one step closer to forming after-school Satan Club. We talk about how they try to start these kids young at a Utah elementary school. The Satanic Temple, the writer says, is one step closer to forming a chapter at this school, which is called Taylorsville. That's Vista Elementary in Taylorsville, located within the Granite School District. And I'm going to jump down here a bit. The spokesperson for the temple added, they are willing to pay facility fees in any of the school districts where that is a common practice. So they've already come up with the money to do this. Benjamin Horsley, spokesman for the Granite School District, told the Christian Post that officials responded earlier this month to the temple's demand that they start the after-school chapter at the elementary school. So you're talking children, from kindergarten, likely up through third or fourth grade. Think about how impressionable they would be if they were to actually end up stumbling into one of these meetings. Now, I would think that most parents would not have their children. They would say, no, you're getting on that bus as soon as school is over with. Do they still walk to and from school? If they're walkers, come straight home. But I have a feeling that this will not be well attended, but still it shows you the depth of depravity that these people have, how they are trying to inculcate themselves into the lives of your children. Bad enough that they want grown men going in and sitting on the potty next to your little girl. Or that they want to tell your child that Jenny happens to be Jimmy or Jimmy happens to be Jenny. And now they'd like to tell them that Satan is the ruler of the universe. How did we get here? How do we allow this to continue? And you've got courts out there who are allowing it because Democrats have packed the courts with all of their own kind. During the summer, the Satanic Temple garnered national headlines for its plan to establish after-school Satan clubs at various public schools. In an earlier interview with Christian Post, Temple spokesman Lucien Greaves said he was starting the club to counter Christian good news clubs where students meet at the end of the school day. Graves argued while the good news clubs teach children shame, guilt, and fear, that they will die and be tormented in hell, the after-school Satan clubs will focus on art projects and education with no religious opinion inserted. Huh? Then why are you calling them Satan clubs? He went on to say the program is merely created and operated by the Satanic Temple. There is no intent to indoctrinate the children. Then why are you doing it? Hello? Then why are you doing it? What are you going to actually have them work on the art projects of? Well, we thought today we would draw a picture of Lucifer, but with a smile, so that they can better identify him and won't fear the evil part of the world once they grow up. And maybe, in fact, they'll grow up and be evil too. Won't that be great? 9:30, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And thank you for joining me this morning. We have 1/2 hour of our program still ahead. Yes, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. I know that people out there may not like to hear that, but we have so much evidence of it now on a daily basis. And the only thing you're going to eventually have to do is realize you're going to have to pick up your own sword and go out there and kick someone right square in the bottom in order to turn this around. We are headed in that direction. It's unfortunate, but we are headed for a schism in this country, and the good people are going to have to do something about it. Prayer is wonderful. Keep doing that, but you may also have to go beyond that too as well. We've got another 1/2 hour of the program just ahead.